Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll be covering a litany of different topics from around the world and the United States. The first one will be an update on Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and his 2 concussions that he had in the last 5 days and all the fallout from that. And also be covering Elon Musk and his new robot that he just unveiled yesterday that's going to be worth $20,000. And also we'll be talking about the life and death of Antonio Inoki, a famous Japanese wrestler who passed away at the age of 79. And then also be delving into some poker controversy where one poker player is accusing the other of cheating them out of $250,000 in one hand. So we'll be going into that. And then also finally, we'll be covering the largest carbon removal project that's going to be breaking ground in Wyoming next year. My name is Brian Barsoon, upload YouTube content daily. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and comment down below on any of the stories. Share the video with your friends. Hit that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Just starting off, though, with the story from the Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. So ESPN tweeted this out earlier that the doctor that evaluated the Miami Dolphins quarterback on Sunday after his first concussion against the Buffalo Bills has now been fired after making several mistakes in his evaluation, according to ESPN and multiple reports. And just going into the story here, so the NFL Players Association exercised their right to fire the doctor involved with this that was doing the tests. So this is from the first concussion. So obviously, had this first concussion test been done correctly, it probably would have avoided the second one that happened on Thursday night against the Bengals, because he would have entered into concussion protocol, and then at that point he would have been playing, more likely than not. If you're not familiar, the first one, he was whipped back on his head and then was seen stumbling, getting up, and actually finished the game, and then obviously played on Thursday night against the Bengals, and then got a more severe concussion and actually had to be stretchered off the field. And they did report that he was discharged from the hospital, and he tweeted out to everyone his thanks and support for him. But he will be now in concussion protocol, so it's undetermined how long the injury will be for, but it'll at least be for a week or two. Honestly, after what I saw, it should be several weeks because that was pretty serious, and he needs to have some neurological tests done on him to make sure everything's okay. Because he's a football player and we want to see him play, but his health is more important, I believe. And that's why I feel the NFL should be fined for this. I'm talking like not $1 million, like $10 million or so, and then just donate that money to concussion research. Just let it go somewhere. That's good. And then not only that, the Dolphins should be have some consequences as well, whether it be losing draft picks or being fined as well. I hope they don't just fire this guy, this poor guy who's an independent doctor. They just fire him and then call it a day, because then that's ridiculous. Then that's not solving the problem. All it's doing is just firing some guy that's not even affiliated with the NFL. And granted, he didn't do his job, but it's also on the coaches as well to recognize what's happening and to let him sit out. I know it was in the middle of a tightly contested game against the Bills, but still, gotta look out for their health. But so that's the update with that. So I just wanted to cover that first because that was in a previous video I did yesterday covering. If you want, I'll link that right now so you can see that video, and I'll link it at the end as well. But covering this next story here has to do with Elon Musk and this robot that he unveiled last night that looks like a human. And obviously they're kind of panning it a little bit, saying that it's kind of like a cash grab, but I'm sure that's their opinion being interjected into the story. But just trying to be from a neutral point of view. It's a robot similar to the Boston Dynamics robot, where it can lift things up and kind of help us around, do things. But it's going to sell reportedly for $20,000. So I'm sure rich people will get their first crack at it first, and they'll be using it to do stuff around the house for them. And we'll see what happens after that. It's probably several years down the line, probably at least 3 to 5 years before it even rolls out. And I'd say probably another 10 or 20 years before it's like a mainstream thing. But the robots are coming. We'll see what happens. And if you're watching, you guys are doing a good job. Thank you. No issues. So he did. This was from AI Day yesterday. Optimus is his name. is unveiled before moving its hands and then taking its first steps to rapid applause. So, they have one that where I showed here at the top. Now, this one can walk on its own, completely by itself, and it shows all the gears and everything that it was built from. And then it has a digital readout for its face. And then as well, they had another one that it's connected with more complete, and that one's still tethered. So it's still early on, and obviously they're a little bit behind Boston Dynamics in this sense, but apparently just started doing it recently. Then here's a picture of Elon with the robot. So, here's a little video of it walking on its own there. So, it's some interesting developments, it's like the movie iRobot is coming to life, so we have that to look forward to. So, just wanted to cover that. So that'll be interesting to follow down the line. And then next I wanted to cover the tragic passing of Antonio Inoki, who died at the age of 79. So if you're not familiar who he was a wrestler. He helped found New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is the WWE equivalent over in Japan, if I can make an analogy, if you're not familiar. And seeing this picture here, he actually fought or wrestled, whatever you want to call it, Muhammad Ali a long time ago. And it was at Budokan Hall, and it was called the Fight of the Century back in 1976. So you can see Ali picture there, and there's Inoki. So it was pretty interesting. He had an interesting life. He started wrestling when he was 17, was born as Kanji Inoki in 1943 in Yokohama. So he started wrestling at 17, and then eventually went on to create New Japan Pro Wrestling, was the founding president. New Japan Pro Wrestling is still around, doing pretty well nowadays. And if you're a wrestling fan, you obviously probably know what I'm talking about here. But he retired from wrestling and then went into politics starting in 1989 all the way up until, I believe, 2019 is when he finished his political career. And then the last couple of years, he's been in some poor health. But rest in peace, Antonio Inoki. He's in the wrestling business, very huge pioneer. When it comes to that, he was able to fight Muhammad Ali. It's pretty cool. So, just wanted to briefly touch upon his life and career. And then, just moving on now to another story, a bit of a hard segue, but talking about the poker story, everything going on with this. So pretty much what happened is now the person on the left here, Garrett Adelstein, I believe his name, is now alleging that this woman here, which her name is Robbie Jade Liu, you see her pictured here, sitting on a beach somewhere, that she cheated. And it was a hand and Texas No Limit Texas Hold'em. If you're not familiar with that is, you start out with 2 cards, then you have the flop, 3 cards, and 4 and 5 turn and river. But so you're betting for the best hand, where you can have a straight or a pair of aces, this, that, and the other. So you can see the hands here. She had a jack high. He was going for a straight flush draw with the flop. So I don't know if it showed the video of exactly what it was, but I think it's down below. I'll show in a second. But she is now alleged to have cheated and had a device apparently on her finger that she was receiving signals from somebody outside of the event that was watching the television coverage, telling her that it was a good hand or a bad hand. So let's say, for example, like 1 beep is a good, 2 beeps is bad. So that's what it's alleged, and on this ring. So if you can see here, there's the ring in question that in her finger. And if you see this video here, she's playing with it, obviously maybe communicating with somebody allegedly. And then once the hand is over, removes the ring from her hand, sort of removing the evidence, so to speak. It's all alleged, but you can see what's going on there with that. And it was for $250,000. It was, a giant hand that was going on. Obviously, it's probably at the final table. It was probably, a lot of money on the line. So it's, interesting. If anyone's a professional poker player and wants to lend some advice down in the comments, or if they, have any familiarity with these type of devices where you can communicate with somebody, via, kind of like Morse code almost, where you're just like, just doing vibrations. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Something happened similarly with this in chess recently with Magnus Carlsen. I'm not going to go into the details of that because YouTube would not like me talking about that, because it's pretty disturbing if everything is true that I've said about that. But he actually accused someone else of cheating through a similar way. and it's a big controversy with that as well. If there's any follow-up with that, be sure to find out about that and let you guys know with any updates. Here's the flop here. So he had 7-8 of clubs, and then he had it in and out of straight flush draw. So he had a very good hand, right off the flop. And then all she had was jack high, and then she bet. And then once the ace came out, she knew she was in the lead because the guy had nothing. So at that point, when you see an ace come out, either they got lucky or maybe they slow rolled them. Who knows? So at that point, she went all in, and then he folded. And at that point, he had lost a lot of money, and obviously was not too thrilled about that, because it's something that's not very commonly done. With a jack high, you got to have some cojones on you. You got to be really smart. You got to know what the other person has, which maybe they did. Who knows? But it's pretty interesting. So obviously they're accusing her of cheating. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know if they can even prove it at this point, but a bunch of people pointed that out, that they saw the issue with her finger with the ring missing. So just moving on to this final story, though. This has to do with the world's largest carbon removal project, which will break ground in Wyoming. So this will help fight the climate. So it's going to take place next year. And Los Angeles-based Carbon Capture Inc. and Texas-based Frontier Carbon Solutions announced earlier this month Project BISON will officially begin next year. And it's a direct air capture facility, be made up of large arrays of modules about the size of 40-foot shipping containers equipped with reactors, which act as filters to absorb the CO2 from the air. And then once they're saturated, they heat up, and then they will go down, pumped underground for permanent storage. So, this is a good step. We'll see how effective it is fighting climate and the CO2 emissions. Obviously, that's a big issue going on. That's a highly contested debate with the CO2. So hopefully they can alleviate some of those concerns that we have with the climate with that, and be interesting to see what how effective it is, and if it's something that needs to be on a larger scale or replicated in order to have greater success, or if it's just one building or one area that can do it, that's great. But if it has to be done, let's say in every state they have to do something like this, that could be another possibility. But also with they're going to get more funding from this from the Inflation Reduction Act. It gave them more tax credits. So the credits increased from $50 a ton to $180 a ton in tax credits with that recent bill that was passed. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I think it's good. It's good news that they're doing that. Obviously, there's also graphene, which I've talked about in the past, that can also help with this. Can remove carbon from the air. It's good for science and technology. It's also good in construction. It's actually way stronger than steel. So we could see that graphene being used in the future. And it can also, obviously grab carbon out of the air as well. So maybe you do that in conjunction with this. It could be something to help fight the climate. Just wanted to cover this as well. Obviously, we'll find out data about this next year once it goes live. And it'll be taking place in Wyoming. But that's going to do it for this video. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Comment down below on any of the stories, especially if you play poker or are familiar with what's going on with that. I'd love to hear your take. Or if you just want to comment on Elon's robots, the robots are coming faster than we thought, it looks like. And or if you're just a wrestling fan, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Antonio Inoki's passing. But thanks for watching, and take care.